Have you ever been betrayed when you least expected it? A trusted friend suddenly turns cold, a partner walks away without explanation, or a colleague stabs you in the back when you're at your most vulnerable. Betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the people you trust the most. And the worst part, you never see it coming. But let me tell you this, the signs were always there. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that betrayal isn't just a random act of cruelty. It follows a pattern. It's not an accident. It unfolds within a psychological cycle, and whether they realize it or not, everyone involved plays a role in it. But once you understand this cycle, you'll never be blindsided again. So why do people betray? And more importantly, how can you spot it before it happens? In this video, we'll dive into the deep psychology of betrayal, uncover the warning signs, and show you how to protect yourself before it's too late. If you're ready, subscribe to Mindful Sphere and continue your journey of self-awareness with us. Betrayal is a process, not a moment. Betrayal doesn't just happen out of nowhere. Just like a storm gathers clouds before it finally erupts, betrayal builds over time, slowly taking shape before it inevitably surfaces. The moment you experience betrayal is simply the breaking point of a process that began long before. There may have been warning signs all along, but you either didn't notice them or chose to ignore them. Small distances, subtle shifts in behavior, fleeting glances, unspoken words, all were the first whispers of an approaching storm. According to Carl Jung, betrayal often stems from a person's shadow self, the hidden part of the psyche where repressed desires, fears, and unresolved emotions reside. These suppressed feelings don't just disappear. Instead, they grow in the subconscious, waiting for the right moment to surface, often in the most destructive way. This is exactly why the betrayer often feels justified in their actions. Without realizing it, they project their internal conflicts onto the outside world, distorting reality and seeing you as the enemy. But the real enemy isn't you. It's the unresolved emotions they carry within. What makes betrayal so dangerous is that it usually comes from those closest to you. The stronger the emotional bond, the deeper the wound. Closeness creates both trust and vulnerability, making betrayal all the more devastating. And the worst part? Sometimes, by the time you see it for what it is, it's already too late. The secret connection between betrayal and jealousy. Carl Jung believed that jealousy is one of the most destructive emotions in human relationships. It often disguises itself as love or admiration, but in reality, it's the outward expression of a deep internal struggle. When people see something in someone else that they feel they lack, an unconscious conflict begins. Another person's success, confidence, peace, or love can quietly trigger a growing discomfort within them. But jealousy rarely presents itself in an obvious way. Instead of open hostility, it reveals itself through subtle yet unmistakable shifts in behavior. A friend who once celebrated your achievements suddenly starts downplaying them. A partner who used to be proud of you now seems overly critical. A co-worker who once had your back slowly becomes distant. You haven't changed, but their perception of you has. And why? Because your growth forces them to confront their own stagnation. While you've been moving forward, they've stayed in the same place. Instead of facing this uncomfortable truth, they find it easier to place the blame on you and withdraw. These shifts often happen gradually. It starts with small, seemingly harmless jokes or lightly sarcastic remarks. Comments like, you've really changed, or success has made you full of yourself, may seem innocent, but they often reveal an underlying jealousy. Over time, these remarks evolve into passive-aggressive behavior and emotional distancing. Then, one day, you realize that the people who once supported you no longer seem happy for you. They don't celebrate your wins, and in some cases they even avoid you. At this point, jealousy has silently paved the way for betrayal. Recognizing jealousy in relationships can be difficult because most people don't want to admit they feel it. Instead, they create justifications to ease their own discomfort. Thoughts like, "They're not the same person anymore," or "I just don't trust them like I used to," often mask deeper feelings of inadequacy. But here's the truth. This is their battle, not yours. You shouldn't let someone else's insecurities derail your growth. If you start noticing these subtle behavioral shifts in the people around you, don't ignore them. They may be warning signs of an impending betrayal. Betrayal behind the masks. Not all betrayals stem from unconscious emotions. Some are planned, deliberate, and calculated, making them the hardest to detect. Jung believed that some people go through life creating false identities, carefully crafting an image of loyalty, trustworthiness, and kindness. But in reality, they are simply wearing masks, operating entirely in their own self-interest. At first, these individuals appear to be generous, supportive, and deeply caring. They listen, encourage, and seem like the best friend or most reliable partner you could ever have. But beneath this carefully curated persona, there is often an ulterior motive. Once they've built a strong connection with you, they slowly begin to take what they need. Initially, it seems like their kindness comes with no strings attached, but over time, their hidden demands start to surface. Maybe they want your emotional support. Maybe they seek financial gain or social status. To them, you're not a person, you're a resource. And the moment you're no longer useful, the mask falls off. The person who once seemed warm and supportive suddenly becomes distant, cold, or even hostile. Sometimes betrayal isn't driven by a lack of love or trust. It's purely about power and self-interest. This type of betrayal is especially hard to recognize in the workplace, social circles, and even romantic relationships because these individuals are masters of manipulation. They know how to keep you emotionally invested, stringing you along just enough to maintain control. Instead of cutting ties suddenly, they often withdraw in a way that makes you feel like the guilty one. By the time they betray you, they've positioned themselves so well that you're the one questioning what you did wrong. But here's what you must remember. True loyalty is unconditional. If someone is only there for you when they're getting something in return, they were never truly there for you in the first place. The best way to gauge sincerity in relationships is to observe mutual expectations. If someone's love, support, or friendship is conditional, there is no real connection. The harshest betrayals often come from those you trust the most, but awareness is the most powerful tool you have to unmask them. Betrayal can make you stronger. Yes, betrayal hurts, but it also reveals the truth. It shows you who people really are, who is genuinely on your side, and who was only there for their own benefit. As painful as it is, betrayal is one of the harshest yet most effective ways to separate the real from the fake. At first, you may see it as a wound. You might even blame yourself, wondering what you did wrong. But with time, you'll come to realize that betrayal doesn't weaken you. It makes you more aware, more resilient, and ultimately stronger. Because once the shock fades, what remains is clarity. a deeper understanding of who truly deserves your trust. Sometimes losing someone is actually a win. Cutting ties with people who manipulate, deceive, or drain you is one of the most important steps toward inner freedom. Remember, being surrounded by the wrong people is far worse than being alone. Experiencing betrayal doesn't mean you failed. It means you've learned. It teaches you to be more selective about who you let into your life, making the relationships you choose to keep even stronger. Instead of seeing betrayal as an ending, see it as a new beginning. You won't repeat past mistakes. You'll recognize toxic relationships sooner and set boundaries when needed. Have you ever experienced betrayal? Share your story in the comments. Awareness grows when we share. If this video helped you, subscribe to Mindful Sphere and continue your journey of self-discovery with us. See you in the next one.